Hey guys, it's Nicole. Today I want to talk to you about the pros and the cons of different popular diets that are out there. The first diet I want to talk to you about is the raw vegan diet. Now, there are different variants to this diet, and the first one I want to talk to you about is the high carb, low fat raw vegan diet, otherwise known as 80-10-10. 80 stands for 80% carbs, and then 10% protein and 10% fat. Now, the pros of this diet would be that they're high in antioxidants, minerals, vitamins, fiber, enzymes. Of course, those are all good. It's very high in fruits and vegetables. However, there are some downsides to this diet. The first downside would be that it's very high in potassium. Now, of course, potassium is very important for the body. It helps maintain our heartbeat. However, you can get too much. And sometimes during this diet, people could eat up to 10,000 milligrams of potassium a day, and that's over twice the amount that you should be getting, which is about 4,700 milligrams per day. Now, normally the kidneys do a very good job of removing the excess potassium from the body. However, some people have issues with their kidneys and they can't remove all of this potassium, and something called hyperkalemia can occur, which is when your blood has too much potassium. And this can be a very dangerous situation. Now, this isn't usually a concern for most people on this diet, but for some, it can cause a problem. So you need to watch the amount of potassium in your diet. Now, the other problem with this diet is that it's extremely high in sugar. Now, I know it's from fruit, but sometimes people can eat upwards of 350 to 400 milligrams or 400 grams of sugar per day, and that's just way too much, even in the form of fruit. People can be eating the equivalent of, nearly 90 teaspoons of sugar in one day, and that's just too much. That's very hard on the pancreas. It raises the blood sugar, it raises triglycerides in the blood, and this is, going to set you up for diseases like diabetes. The other problem with this diet is that it usually falls short in B12, vitamin D, choline, selenium, and then EPA and DHA. Now, a lot of raw vegans get their omega-3 fatty acids from flax seeds, chia seeds, walnuts, that sort of thing, hemp seeds. However, this is in the ALA form, and this needs to be converted to EPA and DHA in the body, and this is sometimes difficult for the body to do. So it is important to get EPA and DHA from animal sources. Now, you could remedy the problem of the selenium by just eating one Brazil nut every day, since Brazil nuts are very high in selenium. However, you're still going to be falling short in B12, vitamin D, sometimes zinc if you're not getting enough, seeds or nuts, and then choline. Many people get their vitamin D from the sun. However, I live up north and it's very difficult to get enough vitamin D up here, especially in the wintertime. And I don't really like to increase my risk of getting wrinkles, so I don't like to lay out in the sun. So this is why adding non-vegan foods in very small amounts can help fill in these holes. Small amounts of fish, shellfish, and other foods like this, like cod liver oil, can provide vitamin D, choline, zinc, selenium, your EPA and DHA, vitamin D. So you don't need to eat a lot of these foods. That's why, I eat mostly vegan, but small amounts of these foods can help, fill in the holes that the raw vegan diet would not be providing. Now, I'm very, very passionate about animal rights. I think it's horrible what's going on in factories now, the way they're treating animals for slaughter, and for, in the dairy industry. It's very horrible what's going on. So most people are asking me, well, why aren't you a vegan? Well, I don't feel, super guilty about eating foods like shellfish, oysters, clams, mussels, because these are considered non-sentient animals, which means they don't really have a conscience, they don't feel emotions. So I don't really feel bad about eating these types of foods. I also don't really feel bad about eating eggs because eggs aren't an animal. They're just, something that comes out of an animal. And as long as you're getting eggs from chickens that, are able to roam free and are treated humanely, I think it's completely fine to eat eggs. The other issue that a lot of people have with this diet is that 10% protein is too low. Now, I actually disagree with this. I think that anything between 10 and 15% is perfect. I think people in this country are absolutely obsessed with protein, and I don't understand why. You'd be hard pressed to find somebody who's deficient in protein in this country unless they're anorexic or they have cancer or some other disease like that. It's very difficult no matter what kind of diet you eat, whether it's raw vegan or vegetarian or, meat eater, whatever. It's very difficult to not get enough protein in the diet. Now, in my opinion, the ideal breakdown of macronutrients would be, approximately 10 to 15% protein, maybe 35 to 45% fat, and then 45 to 50% carbohydrates. Now, even a general raw vegan diet can have issues, even if it does have the ideal breakdown of macronutrients. You're still going to be running low. In fact, actually, there's zero B12 in a raw vegan diet. Some people think that they can get it from foods like, nutritional yeast, but this is really a B12 analog. It's really not the same thing as B12 that you would get from an animal source. Vegan diets are very deficient in vitamin D, EPA, DHA. They can be low in calcium, zinc, selenium, choline, that sorts of foods, depending on what kinds of foods you're eating. Also, eating a lot of raw leafy green vegetables can cause problems in some people. Leafy green vegetables have oxalic acid, and this binds to calcium. So a lot of people aren't, absorbing the calcium that they're getting from the leafy green vegetables. So lightly steaming these vegetables would definitely release the oxalates and help you absorb calcium. Also, eating too many raw cruciferous vegetables can cause problems in some people, people who are more prone to having thyroid issues. Raw cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, kale, Brussels sprouts have something called goitrogens, and this can inhibit the thyroid. So, lightly steaming these vegetables can help. It's not, you can have raw cruciferous vegetables sometimes, but it's better to steam them once in a while at least. Now, the cooked vegan diet is the next diet I want to talk to you about. And if done correctly, the pros of this diet would be that it's very high in fiber and vitamins and minerals. However, there are drawbacks to this diet. If not planned correctly, you can become deficient in this diet. A lot of young kids are very passionate about animal rights, and they just start eating vegan and think, hey, as long as I'm not eating meat, I'm fine, I'm healthy. And this is very, very untrue. A lot of them run out and eat cookies and chips and lots of pasta and rice, and this is not healthy at all. Cooked food in general is actually less healthy depending on the food, so it's best to lightly cook your food. Most people overcook their food, which is very, very unhealthy, and I'll get into that in a little bit. We should be focusing on light cooking. Never grill or char or bake at high temperatures because this creates carcinogens. I would say about 80% of our food should be raw and the other 20% can be cooked. Now, the next diet I want to talk to you about is the paleo diet. And the pros to this diet would be that it's very high in vitamins and minerals, and that they cut out dairy, beans, and grains, which are very hard on the digestion. So those are good. The drawbacks would be it's very meat heavy. And, too much protein is, of course, not good for the kidneys, not good for the body. Like I said earlier, I think about 10 to 15% is perfect. And the paleo diet is very, very meat heavy. Also, they don't really emphasize how to cook the food. I have a lot of paleo cookbooks, and a lot of the recipes tell you to, grill your meat or cook it at high temperatures. And like I said earlier, that causes carcinogens in the body. So while I agree with some parts of the paleo diet, I don't agree with all of them. Another diet that you may not have heard of is called a pegan diet. Now, this is sort of like a vegan plus paleo diet, which may not sound like it makes any sense, but this is probably the closest diet that I would follow. I don't follow any of these diets 100%. I take components from each of them, but the pegan diet is probably a diet that I would agree with the most. It's mostly paleo, but it's low amounts of meat. I don't eat any beef or chicken or any foods like that. I tend to just stick with shellfish and eggs. But the pegan diet is good because it's lower in grains, lower in beans. It focuses more on whole foods like fruits and vegetables, nuts, seeds, small amounts of beans, eggs, small amounts of meat. So it's like a combination of vegan and paleo. Now, another diet, this isn't really a specific diet, but it's just basically counting calories. Now, of course, it's important to know how many calories you're getting. You don't want to eat too many or you might start gaining weight. However, it's not good to become obsessed with the amount of calories that you eat. Some people don't think that counting calories is important because, they just think as long as I'm eating healthy, that's okay. But you can be eating 8,000 calories a day and all of it be healthy and still be overweight because you're eating too many calories. And at the same time, you can be eating the right amount of calories for your body, but it's all junk food. I use a website called Chronometer or Chronometer. I love this website. You can punch in the food that you eat and it tells you all of the vitamins and the minerals it contains, the water, omega-6s, omega-3s, the protein. It even breaks down all your amino acids. I absolutely love this website. You can even punch in, the exercise you did. It tells you how many calories you burned based on your height, your weight, and your age. So this is a good starting point for someone who wants to kind of keep an eye on what they eat and keep an eye on the calories and make sure they're getting enough vitamins and minerals because you can see where you fall short. And, if you, let's say, fall short in selenium or vitamin D or something like that, you can, oh, I need to eat more of this food in order to, fill in that hole. Now, like I said, I don't follow any of these diets that I have talked about today 100%. I follow my own diet that I've sort of come up with. I eat about 80 to 90% raw and the other about 20% cooked, lightly cooked foods. I try to eat as much organic food as I can. About 90% of the food that I eat is organic. And the cooked food that I eat is not heated any higher than about 230 degrees. Once food reaches higher than this temperature, carcinogens start to become developed. And this is, a carcinogen is a cancer promoting substance. I avoid all dairy and beef and poultry, but I eat small amounts of grains such as buckwheat and quinoa. However, I sprout these. I don't just make them. I have to soak them and sprout them in order for them to become more digestible because that's the main problem with grains to begin with, is that they're very high in anti-nutrients, which is very hard on our digestion. So I soak and sprout these. I don't eat any other types of grains, just buckwheat and quinoa. I don't eat any gluten. And when I eat beans, it's usually lentils. And of course, like I said, I sprout them. I do eat eggs, like I mentioned, but I steam them very lightly or I eat them raw. The yolk of an egg is very vulnerable to heat damage. So, I want to make sure if I eat an egg cooked that the yolk is still runny. I also occasionally have shellfish like oysters, mussels, and clams. And of course, I cook these very lightly as well. And of course, any animal food I do eat is free range, pasture raised, organically fed. One of the most important things you have to remember is how your food is cooked, when you're eating cooked food. Poached food, steamed food is the best. Baking at high temperatures, grilling, charring your food, frying it is not healthy for you. Pretty much everything I make is homemade and from scratch. If I go to a restaurant, I try to choose one that has a salad bar so that I can have a raw salad. Now, most people think I eat way too strict, but that's okay. This is how I've decided to live my life, and this is how I've decided to eat. I'm not telling you how to eat or what to do. So we need to all respect each other, and you can do what you want with this information. If you have any questions, comment below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you real soon. God bless.